So the practicalities of the course, and we can take these questions again afterwards. You can do an MPhil in Christian Theology, which all of the students you listen to have done. You can do the MPhil in Christology over 2 years or over 1 year. However you take the MPhil in Christian Theology, you have to study 6 modules in theology over 1 year. Unfortunately, that's the system in Trinity. So you take the 6 modules over 1 year. If you're doing it full time, you then write your doctoral thesis or your master's thesis over the summer, as some of our current students are doing. If you're doing it over 2 years, you have an extra year to write the master's thesis. But I think before you make that decision, it's a good idea to chat with myself or Michael about which one to take. The modules you cover in the MPhil are violence and grace in the human narrative, which is really theological anthropology. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be human, created after God's image and likeness? The first words, theology, or theologies of the Bible, so a reading of the foundational text, the Bible. And then readings in classical theological texts, where you'll get to read people like Julian of Norwich that you've heard of, Augustine, Aquinas, and some more modern theologians. We change around who we offer each year, but we always have Augustine and Aquinas as our foundations. You'll study more with Michael of Jesus of Nazareth, Son, Christ, and Word. You'll study ministry and church in a challenging era, which is a very wonderful course at the moment with all the changes happening in the church. And you'll also study theology and the early Irish church, which you've heard about again, which is another course. So that's if you're doing the master's in theology. You can also decide maybe that you don't want to do the master's just yet. So you'd like to do maybe the diploma or the certificate. If you do the diploma in Christian theology, you also study 6 modules, but you don't do the dissertation. If you decide to do the certificate, you study 3 modules. So it's either 3 modules, 6 modules, or 6 modules in dissertation. They're the different ways. You can transition from the certificate to the diploma to the master's over 3 years or even over longer, because you can take gaps out. There's a possibility of taking gaps. So again, that's something to talk about with us if you're thinking of doing it that way. What suits you and your lifestyle best? As you've heard, it is very demanding, but sometimes that can be the best way for some people to do things. Other people prefer to take more time over doing these. So it's the master's, the diploma, or the certificate in Christian theology. The classes are taught in the evenings, on Monday and Thursday evenings. We've done this because it facilitates those people who are also working full time. So if you're working full time, it is possible to do this master's program. It's challenging, but it's possible. So Monday and Thursday, starting at 5:45 on Mondays, 5:45 till 9 o'clock on Mondays, Thursdays, 5:45 to 7:15. And then very often on a Thursday, or at least a couple of times a semester, we'll also have a visiting lecturer come. So that would be 7:30 to 9 o'clock. That would be a public lecture that you can attend. So I think that's all to say about the practicalities. You have to apply online, which is easy for some people and more complicated for other people who haven't been online for a long time. But the administrators here will help you with the application process. The requirement is, it's wonderful if you already have an undergraduate degree in theology. But the reality is that here in Ireland, at any rate, until very recently, it was very difficult to get the opportunity to do an undergraduate degree in theology. So an undergraduate degree in any discipline or that's cognate to theology, and we're very wide in our understanding of that. So if you have an undergraduate degree, that more or less will qualify you to take on this master's course in theology. Is there anything else that I should have said from those of you who have been doing it? Scholarships, yes, thank you. We also have a number of scholarships available, thanks to our Loyola Trust, which is an amalgamation of 8 different congregations, and also to some other congregations who have given us scholarships. We also have one very special scholarship that was available to an African woman coming from someone who is currently living in Africa and who will go back to Africa to make a difference to the church in Africa. That's one of the very special scholarships we have. And then the other scholarships are open to everybody and anybody. You can see the details about them on our website. And we're very grateful for our scholarships, because we are aware that some people doing theology will not find jobs out of the theology degree. And at the same time, as we've heard so wonderfully, there are many job openings for people who do theology. But postgraduate study is difficult, it is expensive. And so we like to try and help people to do it, because our Trust Foundation want people to do theology. That's why we're here. Anything else I've forgotten? Okay. So does anybody have any questions? There are about 6 or 7 or 8. So we've quite a lot of scholarships. We've quite a lot of scholarships, and if we can always try and we can approach people to try and find scholarships too if people need scholarships. We do our best.